All right. Oh boy, I'm telling you what the fucking truth. I've been wanting to hang baskets out here that I can keep stuff in. Make some nice arrangements. I'm thinking about buying a bunch of hanging baskets and growing nice plants in them and stuff to sell. Yeah. I'm gonna hang more, but I'm not quite sure where. I got to get over here and straighten this table up again. GoPro stopped recording. I'm gonna definitely have to put braces on these legs. GoPro stopped recording. Yep, I think that's about, well, that's about 3 foot and 3 inches, so that means I will need, I can get 2 braces out of one 8-foot piece, so I need two 1x4 by 8-foot pieces to do one table, so I need 4. And I'm thinking that's gonna be, man, I used to have a bunch of that stuff. But right at the moment, I'm broke. I've got about $60 in gee whiz. I've got in Amazon, but I doubt very seriously that they sell, and if it did, it wasn't going to be cheap. I found a lot of things are not cheap on Amazon. So I need 4 things, so I've got 20 days before I can do that. Boy, I'm telling you. Now wait a minute. If I put them at an angle, how much would it take? Wait a minute. 2 foot, 3 foot. You mean I can do it with going 3 foot? Yeah. I can put them at an angle. That's the way you want them. I want everything done ASAP, but it's just can't do it. I went and I got these these 5 things here is pine cone ginger lilies that I'm gonna be growing into pots. I need to get some stuff up on eBay. I wonder if I can get Jay out here a minute. Where'd I put? There it is. GoPro stopped recording. Boy, them crows is noisy. That is some hard wood on this stuff. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. Well, I know I drilled the hole. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. No, that ain't the hole. Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna get some hanging baskets. And probably to get them at a cheaper price, I'm gonna probably have to get 50. And I'm gonna have to decide what I'm gonna plant in them. I'm not sure yet. I wished I had one of them steel racks that you could hang them on. Oh, that went all the way through. I didn't know that. Yeah, this will look nice if I could get something started growing out here. I wonder if I could put one right. Well, let's back up. Now, if I hung one there, can I hang one there? No. Yeah, these things, this is what my daughter bought that had them strawberries in. Can you see that? $12.98. And you can't do flip with strawberries in these baskets. It doesn't work. People fall for it. They say, oh, let's grow some strawberries. It don't work that way, folks. You might get some, but you'll never get what you get if you took that $12 and just bought strawberries. Never. Well, I can do more. Yeah. I've still got a lot of raking to do. GoPro stopped recording. Well, shoot. I'm tired. Been real busy today. Been thinking about my grandma Pearson and my granddaddy Pearson, my mama, my grandma Holt, my granddaddy Holt, that's on my mother's side, and my my grandma, she was a Seventh-day Adventist, and I mean, she was a staunch Seventh-day Adventist. She wouldn't even allow caffeine, you know, like in coffee, in her house. She made Granddaddy drink something called Postum. I don't know if they still make that or not. Looks like coffee, but I didn't like it. But there was no caffeine, no coffee in Grandma's house. No lard. I don't know what she used before they ever started making vegetable shortening and stuff. I don't know. But she sent me across the street to get some shortening from, there was an old country store across the street. She gave me the money and I went over and Lord have mercy, I got a pound of lard. I come back to the house and I pounced that down on the kitchen sink table thing there, and oh my gosh. She was hysterical. And she started coming after me with that switch. And you take that back right this minute and get me vegetable shortening. And back then, it didn't come like in a liquid bottle. It come in a square little box just like lard did. Yes, sir, man. She sent me back across that road. It wasn't like a street. It was just an old red dirt country road. See, Grandma was a Seventh-day Adventist. And I remember one time some friends of my grandma's, invited us over there to their house for supper. And there was fried chicken. There was fried pork chops. And I love pork chops. And I reached over and got me a pork chop, and she stuck my hand with a fork. I had to put that back. And it's kind of embarrassing. That's not clean. It's unclean, you know. Grandma had her ways. I remember one time. Now, Grandma didn't wear no bloomers. Now, what's wrong with my hearing aid? Now, how you may ask, how do I know whether Grandma wore bloomers? Well, I'll tell you how. Now, Grandma wore these long dresses that come down to the tops of her shoes, and an apron. And sometimes we'd be out on the walk, you know, looking for blackberries and stuff. And Grandma, if she had to pee, she'd all of a sudden, she'd stop, and you'd see her spread them legs a little bit. Yeah. And then there it come, the golden stream. Just pissing right there on the ground in front of all of us kids. I don't know if she'd have done that around the grown-ups or not. But that told me she didn't wear no bloomers, or if she did, she had wet ones. And that time, we didn't have no bathroom in the house, and I was upstairs. And if we had to pee, they had a chamber pot there, you know, that you took the lid off and peed in, or you sat on it and took a dump. And I hated using that thing. It stunk to high heaven. So I went over to the window and slid that screen aside. She had them sliding screens. And I got up that window and I started peeing out the window. Unbeknownst to me, Grandma had got the urge to pee at the same time, and she stepped outside. The door was right below where my window was at upstairs. And she got out there and she started peeing. And all of a sudden I started peeing. I peed all over Grandma. She come running back in the house and up them steps with the switch. But she couldn't switch me because Mama said, "You ain't switching my child." Mama was there too. But Grandma, she had her ways. You know, she was... And only one of her kids, out of her 9 kids, stayed true to the Seventh-day Adventists, and that was Aunt Ann, and she was the youngest one. All the rest of them was Baptists and Methodists, and there was another one in there. It might have been Presbyterian, I can't remember. Mostly Baptists and Methodists. If we was at home during the summer, we stayed there a lot. And we'd be outside playing. And it'd start raining and storming and stuff and have to come in. And we'd come in and we'd start trying to play, you know, and everything in the house. She would not allow it. If it was raining and storming, she would say, "That's the Lord's work. You will be still and quiet till it's finished. I remember that happening a lot. Yes, I do. Grandma had her ways. I think Grandma died in 1954. And she took me to my Grandma Holt's funeral. My Grandma Holt died in 53. And she took me and Carolyn and George to Grandma Holt's funeral at the funeral home. And that's the first time I ever went into a funeral home or seen a dead person or any of that. And to this very day, when I smell roses and flowers and stuff, matter of fact, I said it to my daughter the other day. She come in with them roses that my grandson gave her for Valentine's Day, and I said, smells like a funeral home. But she took us in there. We didn't know squat about it, and we knew that Grandma had died. And one of my, I don't know if it was Carolyn or George, was looking at her, and he said, she don't look dead. Or is she really dead? And the Grandma said something like, yep, she's deader than the doornail and don't know nothing anymore. I mean, just that, whatever you want to call it. I ain't never forgot that. She don't know nothing anymore. Didn't go to her funeral, just to the funeral home. And that was like about an hour's walk from where we lived out in the country to the funeral home in town. But I ain't never forgot that smell, all them flowers. Oh. I didn't go to Grandma Pearson's funeral. I wasn't there when Grandma Pearson died. That was in 53 that Grandma Pearson died. And when Granddaddy Pearson died, must have been around 60. Must have been, let's see. It was after I got out of the Army. So it had to have been about 1967. But I didn't get to go to his funeral either. And Granddaddy Pearson, he had remarried after Grandma died. Miss Ethel, I did not like that woman. That woman said something to my Aunt Mamie at the mill. And when she said it, she didn't know that she was talking about her daddy-in-law. The lady was talking they worked at this cotton mill. And she was telling him, said, I found me a new boyfriend. And he's got one foot in the grave, and he's got a nice house that I'm going to get. And she didn't know, she knows who Aunt Mamie was then after that. But Aunt Mamie was telling that at the family reunions. But Yeah, she thought she was going to get that house, the old home place. It was a big 2-story house that Granddaddy built himself with his own hands. And let's see, there was for all them kids, it really wasn't that big. It was 2 bedrooms upstairs and 1, 2, 3. There was 4 rooms downstairs, and 2 of them rooms were bedrooms, and there was no bathrooms and no running water. No running water. I remember many a time when we'd be visiting in the winter time or something, they had a pump out there, a well pump, hand pump, and if it was freezing weather, that pump would freeze up. And you always had to keep extra water in the house in buckets and stuff. And you'd come out there with a kettle of hot water and pouring over that pump. It's steel. And when it freezes up, you can start doing that and you can feel it. Then you got to pour water in the top of it to prime it while you're pumping like this. Oh, man, that was cold going out there and doing that. And they had electricity. I can't never remember them not having electricity. Now, I remember Uncle Jack lived over across the peanut field. I remember that he didn't have electricity. Him and Aunt Mamie, and they had oil lamps and all that stuff. Wish I could go back. Wish I could go back. Uncle Jack and Aunt Mamie's house, they had oil lamps, and they wouldn't run them oil lamps too long after it got dark. And I stayed over there right till it got dark. I mean, it was dark. And I'd have to start walking across that field in the dark to Grandma's house, because that's where I was staying. And Aunt Mamie said, "We're going to have to turn the lights off, Mike." Said, I'll leave the lamps on till you get home. When I see the light turn on in the kitchen, I'll know you got there. And I'd be walking across that field, pitch black, no street lights, nothing like that. And every once in a while, I look back over my shoulder and I see that lamp sitting in the window, just nice glow, you know. Boy, that was such a warm feeling to me to see that. I wished I could see that one more time. Aunt Mamie died a year ago. She was 102. I wished I could have went to her funeral. But you know, Aunt Mamie, Aunt Mamie died. When Aunt Mamie died, she was 102. Lewis had cancer. That's her oldest son, my first cousin. He had cancer, and it was really working on him, and he just looked so bad. And Lewis couldn't go to her funeral. They made a video of it, and he watched that. And then, a few months after Aunt Mamie died, Lewis died. And I've got the video of the funeral, and I could see Frankie. That was he was my first cousin. He was the youngest one. And I could see him sitting up there at the front pew, him and Effie and some of his kids and stuff. But Frankie was older than me. Frankie was in his 80s. and all this COVID got started, and Frankie would not get a COVID shot at all. I ain't getting no stinking shot. They'll just make me sick, all stuff like that. And dadgone, right after I got over my COVID and got back home and everything, about a month later, Jennifer come in there and said Frankie died. He got COVID. And he went in there, it didn't take about 2 or 3 days to kill him. 2 or 3 days. Yeah, life goes on, folks. And a lot of you already know that's been watching my videos and stuff. You already know I felt like I didn't have, well, I know I didn't have a good relationship with my mother. I didn't have a real good one with my dad, but it was a lot better than my mother. You know, mother's the one that abandoned me and Carolyn and George on Mother's Day in 1951. And she took off. She had 5 kids. Me, Carolyn, George, Michael, and Joe. And she took off with this man, left Daddy laying on the floor drunk, passed out. And she had us kids put some of our clothes in some paper bags, and we got in this man's car, Bob folks, and took off. We didn't have a clue where we was going, and we didn't know what was coming up. And I was old enough. Carolyn don't remember any of this, but me and George do. And I remember Mom and Bob talking about, well, we can't take all these kids and stuff, you know. We can only take the 2 babies. In my mind, like, I'm thinking they're gonna take us in the woods somewhere and kill us. But what they did, they took us to Roanoke Rapids and dropped us off at my grandma. First they tried to drop us off at Grandma Holt's, her mother and dad, and they wouldn't have no part of it. Said, if you're running off, you're gonna take all your kids. Well, it wound up, she took us over to Grandma Pearson's, told us to go knock on the door and take our little bags of clothes. We went over and knocked the door, and quick as that door opened, and this is like 3 o'clock in the morning. Quick as that door opened, Bob spun out of there. He was spinning his tires getting out of there. And there we was. And they was trying, what's going on? What happened? We didn't know. All we knew, Daddy was drunk and on the floor, and she left with this man. And with us with her. We thought we was going with him. She said she'd see us in a few days. I ain't never forgot that. Yeah, I had a lot of difficulty with that for about 3 years. Anyhow, I guess I need to cover up my toes. This is my video for today, folks. And gosh, I've been reminiscing about, well, my mom and daddy. Feel like I got shortchanged when it come to parents. Now all of Daddy's other brothers and sisters, they were fine, upstanding people. There was two of them was farmers. The youngest boy that was younger than my dad, Uncle JB, he was in the Navy for over 20 years, and he was some kind of certified something or other. He did something, some kind of welding and stuff underwater on ships and stuff. He had 7 kids. And there was Uncle Jack, he had 2. Aunt Bertha Lewis, she had 2. That one was Timmy, and he died. The daughter Kay, she's still living. Aunt Ann didn't have any kids, and they were farmers. Rosa May was farmers. Bertha Lewis was farmers. Aunt Dora, she was the oldest, and she married a Methodist minister. Uncle Aubrey, well, I take that back. Uncle Aubrey was an alcoholic. He was a drunk. And let's see, who have I missed? Aunt Ruby. She married a big shot in a mill somewhere, and well, it wasn't a mill. Well, it was. They made socks. And then there was Aunt Dorothy. Aunt Dorothy's still alive. Aunt Dorothy is the only aunt or uncle that I've got left. She's still living. She's in her 90s. And she married this man. Aunt Dorothy never worked a day in her life. After she got married, she never had to work. Her husband had a funny name, Mahood Winkler. And Mahood he climbed all, he worked for, was it Virginia Life? It was one of these big life insurance companies, and he worked that thing, and he climbed all the way to the top when he was the CEO and CEO and president of that company. Needless to say, he was always had plenty of money and stuff. Matter of fact, every time he would come to the family reunion, he'd be driving these Chrysler Imperials. Somebody said, "Well, Imperial's not a Chrysler. That's another brand." I don't know. I know Chrysler Imperial. Beautiful cars. And but he died young. And Aunt Dorothy got married again. And then she got married again. She'd married 3 times. I think that's all of them. But I loved all my aunts and uncles. I wasn't particularly fond of Ann. She was the baby. That I had to work on her and her husband's farm a lot during the summer, and that was some hard work working for them. We didn't get paid. Sure didn't. I loved them all though. Been thinking a lot about all the people that's gone by. Done got up and gone. And I figure it ain't gonna be too long before I'm gonna be up and gone. I'd like to make it at least 10 more years. Yes, I would. All right, folks, that's my story. I'm sticking to it. I'll catch you in the next one. See ya. GoPro, turn off. GoPro, turn off. GoPro, turn off. Well, you stupid thing. GoPro, turn off.